From a farmer perspective, what are some of the things that they're evaluating when they look at a team or a company that's bringing an asset to them or a potential partnership?
Yeah, so once again, that ties in also to looking ahead, right? Because it's one thing to develop your plan towards a pharma deal, and that's of course something that we see very often is biotech companies. They think, okay, you know what, I'm going to make a development plan, very meticulous, up until phase 2, and after that, the pharma can take care of the rest. And that's of course a mentality that does not work very well for pharma. It's not that they want you to go into commercialization because they're talking to you because they want to commercialize the asset, right? So it makes sense in a way, but they do want to see that you've thought things out. They want to see that you've thought about how it's going to get through regulation. They want to know that you've thought about how your CMC is going to hold up in a commercial setting. How can you justify a premium pricing, for example? These are all very important things that pharma want to see that at least you've thought about.
How important is it for emerging companies to think globally when they think about partnering these days?
This is really interesting because we have a lot of clients in Asia, for example, and you might think that they might have a more local view, but actually the opposite is true because their view is always to get out of their own markets and go into the international market. So from a pretty early stage, they're already thinking, how can I make my product adapt to a global market, right? I see it much more here in the US. That companies are looking first of all, and how are we going to make this work in the US? And then later find out that there's actually some difficulties in getting it into other markets. And it makes sense, right? It's the biggest market, it's the most important market. But if you want to eventually do something globally, then you also need to think about that in advance.